My lords, that's me. Ladies and gentlemen, good day, Sydney Cider. Good day, Australia. Good day, Julia, darling. Now, I am not here to say rude things about your Prime Minister, because that would not be very nice, would it? What I will say is I agree with your Prime Minister. The government I lead will not introduce a carbon tax. That's what she said. That's what she meant. Or did she? We'll find out tomorrow. But I have a message for the traffic light tendency. Those greens too yellow to admit they're really reds. Australia is a great country. Australia is a democratic country. Australia is a free country, and it is going to stay that way. We will not allow this country to go into that last good night. Rage against the ending of the light. Because that is what it's going to be. If you introduce the carbon tax, the next thing you'll be introducing is the mineral resources rent tax. And the consequence of those two will be to destroy your mining industry, the economic sinews of Australia.
She's a traitor!
We have heard from somebody called Brown, who describes himself as the leader of the Greens, that he wants to destroy your coal industry.
He's a queer turd!
Nobody who claims to represent the people of Australia should stand up and say he wishes to destroy any of Australia's industries. It is unacceptable. The mine workers are the heroes of Labour. These are the men who dig the darkness underground to bring us light. Do we support our mine workers? I don't think they heard you. Do we support our mine workers? That's more like it. Julia, darling, listen to the voice of the Australian people gathered here in Sydney on this beautiful, sunny but rather cold day. We could do with some more global warming. But let's just think of what is going to happen if this carbon tax goes through. First of all, there's no need for it. You may have noticed the planet has not been warming at anything like the rate that they predicted. It isn't happening, and it isn't going to happen. They got the sums wrong. And what we are going to do is get the sums right. And the way we're going to do it is through the ballot box. In a year or two's time, there will be a general election. And it's not for me to tell you how you should vote in that general election. But let me give you a clue or two. Now, Julia, darling, if you're watching, what I'm going to do is to ask the people of Australia gathered here, representative of all political parties, I'm going to ask them a few questions. Do we need a carbon tax? No! Do we want a carbon tax? No! Do we want a mineral resources rent tax? No! Do we want the ABC and other propagandist left-wing media? Do we want them subsidized any longer by taxpayers? Do we want environmentalist extreme left-wing propaganda in our schools? Do we want a carbon tax? I can't hear you. Do we want a carbon tax? Well, Julia darling, there is your answer. No, we do not want a carbon tax.
Piss off, gillard!
And here is why. Because I agree not only with Julia Gillard that the government she leads will not introduce a carbon tax. I also agree with Professor Ross Garnaut, because what he said was every cent that we spend on the carbon tax, we can't spend on something else, like our workers' jobs, for instance, like the growth of Australia, for instance, like the future of our families and children, for instance. If we take away the money that should be going into your pockets so that you have the economic democracy and freedom to decide how you spend it, if instead a vast, gargantuan, unnecessary bureaucracy is established to take money from the so-called 500 polluters and transfer it by a huge bureaucratic mechanism to 90% of the people of Australia to compensate them for the extra money charged to them by the 500 polluters, all you've got is a giant money carousel, a money go-round, which won't make any difference to the planet, but it will make all of you poorer because somebody's got to pay for all those bureaucrats. Besides, there is also a moral issue here. And the moral issue is an important one to think about. Because every cent we waste on a carbon tax, which will make, on any view, no difference to the climate of the planet at all, is a cent that we can't spend on what Australia has so generously shown herself as being willing to do before. There are people, children in Africa, who are starving, who don't have education, they don't have healthcare, they don't have any of the goods and benefits of life that we are used to. And we could and should be helping them. And we can't help them if we help Julia Gillard to bring in some sort of totalitarian regime that destroys the freedom of Australia without benefiting the planet. So the message, Julia darling, is that you are destroying your own country. You are destroying your workers. You are destroying the families of Australia. You are destroying the hopes of Australia. You are destroying the future of Australia. And will we allow that? I didn't think so. Because if this carbon tax goes through, then it's bye-bye Australia. It's been nice to know you, but you will become just another third world banana monarchy without even any bananas, looking at the prices they've been charging for those in your supermarkets recently. So the fact is, I have a message for all of the political class of Australia.
Ditch the witch!
Well, not for me to say that. What I will say is this, that Kevin Rudd 2 years ago devoted an entire 45-minute televised lecture to a personal attack on me. And we hadn't even met. So I came out to Australia in January a year ago to exercise my right of reply. And where is Rudd now? So a message for Julia, you're next. Now, it would not be right for me to hold on to this microphone for too long. So what I'm going to say is this, that Australia is a great country. I love Australia to bits. People of Australia I love you. And I want to see your nation flourish in the Commonwealth, flourish under Her Majesty the Queen. And I want to hear 3 cheers for Her Majesty the Queen. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip! And I want to hear 3 cheers for Australia. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip! Hooray! So I end by saying these 3 heartfelt words with feeling and with gratitude. God bless Australia. Thank you.
Stay there a minute. I've got